Welcome to From the Shed End podcast with myself, T.Dot. As always, thank you very much for joining me. Now, before we get into the content, please make sure you subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, and also follow the socials that you can see at the top of the screen as well. I appreciate everyone who does that. Now, we've got to put the Arsenal game to bed. If you haven't already, please make sure you check out my match reaction and play ratings. It should be amongst the videos somewhere. I think it's the last one I did, so please make sure you do that. And we've got to put the game to bed. I spoke a lot about consistency, schoolboy defending. We've got to get rid of it. It's just something that we just need to stop making these childish, silly errors that are very avoidable. We've got to look forward. We've got a big game coming up on Sunday, West Ham. And if you remember the game at the London Stadium, I think it finished 3-2. It had a brilliant goal by Mason Mount that was overshadowed by an error by Mendy late into the game, which made it 3-2 to West Ham. We've got to do better. And I think anyone who's watched the videos that we've done or listened to our podcast will know throughout the season, myself and Theo have both said that, especially during December, November, some key games, crucial games that we dropped points where we should have potentially done better. I'm thinking about Brighton, even the game against Watford. Although we won, it wasn't convincing. There's so many games where we drop points, and we look at our home record as well. You know, the first time I think since 1993 that we've lost back-to-back games over a 3-course period, and conceding I think 12 goals in 3 games. It's double what was expected in terms of goals conceded for Chelsea. So there's a lot of defensive work to be done. Goalkeeping issues as well. Is it time to rest Mendy, give him a break as well? He's played a lot of football, including the African Cup of Nations. Is it time to give Mendy a rest? I personally think so. I have 2 formations, 2 lineups that I'm going to share with you shortly that I potentially would go with. And we do need to keep the consistency. I think for me, front 3 against West Ham, they're a very good team, solid team. I expect them to play 5 in midfield potentially, maybe Antonio up front on his own. We know what dangers they can bring, you know, to a team. Declan Rice, Jared Bowen, these are the sort of players. Souček as well. You know, these are players that are really, in terms of how they're playing at the moment, they really are players that can give us trouble. Lanzini, Cresswell, Dawson, Kufal. There's so many Fornells. You know, the team is doing really well this season. Obviously, you only have to go and look at their Europa League, how they've done well in there. You know, they've done really well. Potentially could go on to win the Europa League as well. So you do hope that they're going to have one mind on that. But also, this is a game that they also want to try and win as well. So for me personally, I think we need to definitely do better than we did at the London Stadium. I think that was poor. I think we struggled to break down West Ham at times, and we were unlucky with some of the opportunities that we had. Like I said, Mason Mount's goal was brilliant in the previous fixture as well. But let's get on to some injury news from the press conference that Thomas Tuchel's just held probably about half an hour ago. No Rudiger, no Mateo Kovacic. We was hoping that Rudiger might be back for the game. Thomas Tuchel's confirmed that he's not back. He won't be fit. It's a blow. It's a massive blow, because I think, as I said before, you know, a lot of the time we wouldn't have said Rudiger is the person that we would have been relying on alongside Thiago Silva in our defensive line, but he's been solid. He's one of the more senior players. Christensen, I believe, might have a small knock, or just might, hopefully doesn't feature in the game against West Ham. For me personally, I would bring back Trevor Chalobah. I think he's warranted a start. I think he had brilliant form before he got injured. I think back to the cup final against Liverpool as well, what a performance he put in there. And even in the Premier League game against Liverpool, the 2-2, you know, he didn't have the best starts to the game, but he definitely grew into the game and developed into it. So I would personally bring in Chalobah. I think he's having a brilliant season. He chips in with the odd goal every now and again as well, which is beneficial, crucial. This is the business end of the season now. We need not just points, but we need to think about goal difference and goals as well. So for me, maybe Chalobah. I'm going to go straight into my lineups that I've got. I've got 2. So this is the first one. This is the one I potentially would rather go with out of the 2 that I've got. Massive surprise, I suppose, would be Kepa in goal. I just think Mendy, he needs a rest. I think he's played a lot of football over the last couple of months, and there's also things that I think Mendy needs to work on. Distribution, just playing out from the back. If we're a team that wants to play out from the back, which is brilliant, we can do that. But it's just little lapses in concentration. Sometimes some of the goals, I go back to the Arsenal game, I could go back to the Real Madrid game. There's so many games I could go back to where it's just a lapse in concentration from the goalkeeper, potentially a lack of communication between the defenders and the goalkeeper as well. There's just so much that happens in that part of the game, which is crucial. We need someone who's solid at the back in terms of our defense, but also that communication with the goalkeeper is so key. And to be honest as well, over the years that we've had Kepa, I have been one of those people that potentially wanted him to go out the club at one point, especially under the League Cup scenario of not coming off, and also as well, he was awful at one point. We have to be honest, he wasn't the best. He seems to have developed a lot under Thomas Tuchel and the coaching staff at Chelsea as well. Pulled off some brilliant performances whilst he's been called up, and thinking back to when Mendy was the African Cup of Nations as well. For me, I would start Kepa. I would give Mendy a rest. I think we need to also remember Kepa's a brilliant goalkeeper. We might lose him in the summer if we don't play him. I think there's a very high chance that he goes in the summer, whether that's on loan or whether he wants to go on a permanent. But I think we potentially will be losing Kepa. I think for me personally, I don't know. You know, it's a tough one because he deserves first team football somewhere. But I think for me, I love the fact that we have him now to rely on as a goalkeeper that can come in and do just as good as a job as Mendy, if not better at times as well. So for me, I'd have Kepa in goal. Now, one thing that really killed us in the week was the fact that we had Azpilicueta at right wing back for me and Reece James right centre back. It killed us in the first half. It really did. And as the game progressed, you could obviously see that Mikel Arteta had cottoned on to the fact that, you know, we had Malang Sarr and Alonso on the left side, and then we had Reece James right centre back and Azpilicueta right wing back. It just didn't work. So I think in a game again, it's going to be a very intense, high tempo. I expect West Ham to press high line as well. So I think in this kind of game, I'd prefer to see Azpilicueta at right centre back and Reece James at right wing back as well. I think the introduction of Thiago Silva has to be key. He has to be key. We need someone with a wise head, with a experienced head on his shoulders, someone that very rarely puts a foot wrong. I think we need him back in the spine of that defence, and being able to have someone like Azpilicueta, who is very experienced in his own right as well, and Chalobah. I think, like I said before, Chalobah should be back in this team. If Christian is fit, I expect him on the bench. I expect him to pull up a better performance than he did against Arsenal. But I just think seeing Trevor Chalobah in the team, knowing what he's capable of, as I said, he likes to get forward, very much like Antonio Rudiger. He chips in with the odd goal now and again as well. So he's someone who's very dangerous on set pieces from corners, free kicks, etc. I'd have him in the team alongside Marcos Alonso, who, it's a given. I've always said on the podcast, on these videos that I do, if we've got someone who's naturally left-sided, who plays in that position, I'd rather see them there. I'd rather see Alonso than maybe a Cesar Azpilicueta, or I don't know, a Saul Niguez. I'd rather see Alonso, who can do that. He has been putting in some brilliant performances, bar against Arsenal. So, I think I was very critical and harsh with the play ratings on Tuesday, but yeah, Alonso for me would start. Now, midfield is very tricky. Ideally, you'd love to have Mateo Kovacic in that midfield, but I do think we need to try and get him fully fit for the FA Cup final. I think he's going to be crucial for that game. And if it means missing out on a game against West Ham, then of course, we just have to do what we can. And I think for me, the best partnership in a game against West Ham, for me, would be Ruben Loftus-Cheek and Jorginho. Again, potentially very controversial because I think some people would see Kante in there. But again, I just think he hasn't been putting in the work that we know he can. And, you look at the possession loss with Kante, the amount of times he's losing the ball, just silly mistakes that he's making. I think, if we're basing the team and selecting the team on form, and who's in form and who's playing well, then yes, Jorginho isn't playing as well as we know he can, but he's playing a lot better than Kante in some of the games that we've been watching. So And Ruben Loftus-Cheek, again, you know, he's been putting in some really good performances over the last couple of weeks. So again, for me, I'd stick with Ruben Loftus-Cheek in midfield with Jorginho. Rest Kante, maybe it's a rest that he needs. Maybe he needs to stay at the team for 1 or 2 games. But I'd have Jorginho, who, yeah, for me, you know, having Jorginho in that team with Loftus-Cheek, it allows that a bit more energy from Loftus-Cheek. It allows him to go a bit more forward, you know, drive a little bit more forward here. And Jorginho, again, will do the same, you know, and I think this is very crucial for me. If we have Jorginho and Loftus-Cheek in midfield, it's crucial. We've got this back 5 here. You know, when we don't have the ball, you know, you'll see the shift back here, you know, with the 5 at the back, as you would expect with a 5 at the back, 3 centre-backs as well. But I'm expecting Reece James to cover, to basically be here most of the game, and Alonso to be here. And I think this front 3 here, they need to play more narrow. I think they have to play very narrow. Help that link-up play with the front 3 in terms of Werner, Havertz and Mount has to be, the cohesion has to be there. It has to be there. It's got to be there. So I think for me, Werner, again, you know, he got his goal on Wednesday night against Arsenal. But I think we do need to see that front 3 of Mason Mount, Kai Havertz and Timo Werner. I really do. I think we need to see it. The mixing around is great against a team that we potentially are more capable of winning, but we have to guard against complacency. We have to give the respect to a team that, like West Ham, are doing really well, not just in the Premier League, but again in Europe, as I said. So, you know, that would be my front 3 in my ideal lineup against West Ham. Obviously, I'd love to see Kovacic in the team and Rudiger, but I do think, you know, maybe Mendy sitting out this one. Kante is a good option to come off the bench as well. Hakim Ziyech, another player that potentially could come off the bench. But I think what we don't want to do is be chasing the game like we did against Arsenal and concede an early goal, having to keep trying to peg back a goal, conceding another goal. It would be very similar to the reverse fixture at the London Stadium. So I think for me personally, you know, that would be the ideal lineup that I would go with against West Ham. Now I have got a second one that I do want to go through. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this. You know, I'm not a big fan of the formation, but I can just see Thomas Tuchel trying to change something. Obviously, he hasn't got Rudiger in the team. He hasn't got Kovacic. So one of the things that we noticed on Wednesday was the amount of gaps, amount of space between our lines, you know, and we just left so much space for Arsenal to run into. Saka had a field day, you know, and we have to remember the team that Arsenal put out was not, they had so many absentees, you know. You think Lacazette was on the bench, no Kieran Tierney, Thomas Partey wasn't in the team. These are big players for Arsenal. So I think West Ham will be up for this. They will see that we played awful against Arsenal midweek, and they'll be up for the game. I've gone for this formation potentially because I feel like there's an extra safety net in terms of if you don't play the back 3 with the 2 wing backs, you still need a bit of cover in front of you. And I think Kante, Jorginho can do that. And I also think going forward, Mason Mount and Loftus-Cheek going forward would also be a very good option with the 2 strikers in Werner and Havertz up front as well. I can potentially see both lineups, but I just think for me personally, I would opt for the first one that I showed you in terms of the back 5, the 2 in midfield and the 3 up front. I think it just gives us a bit more fluidity. Like I said before as well, it allows for that consistency for the front 3 as well. And I think this is where we're going wrong. I think we're not consistent. We're just not consistent. There's no cohesion. There's no ability for these players to understand how each other play and how they can play to each other's strengths. It's just not there because we just keep swapping and changing. So I think we need to keep the front 3 as consistent as possible. And if I'm going to be totally honest, I think this is a must-win game for Chelsea. It's a must-win game. Yes, we still have a game in hand, but we still need to be very careful of the 2 teams behind us. They're very close now. It's not a case of we have a nice cushion of points to go into these games with. So like I said in the previous video, Everton, United, these are not easy games. We have to, again, like I keep saying, guard against complacency. We have to, because if we don't, you know, we could end up final day of the season needing points. I think we need 14 points from the next couple of games to be able to secure top 4. It sounds like an easy task. It is an easy task if we play the right formation, the right team, but we have to get it right. And I think Thomas Tuchel, after Wednesday's game, has to get this right. He has to get this team right, everything right. We have to. We can't afford to slip up any more than we have this season. Yes, we've played the most number of games across Europe, and you know, I think it's 55 games all competitions this season, but we still need to churn out these results. This is what champions do. You know, if we want to be champions, we want to be talked about amongst Liverpool and Man City. They churn out these results when it matters, and this is one of those crucial games on Sunday. So my prediction for Sunday, I'm going to go 2-1 Chelsea. I'm also going to give you scorers. I'm going to say Havertz, and I'm going to say a Jorginho penalty. So that's my. I think we'll score 2, and I think we'll sit back too much, and we'll allow West Ham back into the game. But my only hope is that we perform a lot better than we did against Arsenal, and Thomas Tuchel gets the formation and the starting lineup right as well. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know which formation you would go with, whether you would change your formation completely to what I have, and also who would you start, and what are your predictions for the game as well. And of course, make sure you subscribe to the channel, make sure you follow all the socials, and check out our Spotify podcast as well, on Apple Music as well. And we will be back next week with another video. So until then, stay safe, and let's hope we get 3 points against West Ham. Thanks for watching.